So to make glow bricks, you need a few key ingredients. You need epoxy resin, for obvious reasons. You need some sort of material, a medium to hold the glow material. You will need powder. You won't need anywhere near this much to make a glow brick. I'm making 8 right now, and I can make a total of 32 with a pound of powder. You can probably guesstimate how much you need. You need about half an ounce of brick, approximately. A very accurate digital scale is always nice to have around. It's just nice to be able to be as accurate as you can. And then of course you need a mold. And I'm using basically a cupcake container. And the reason I'm using it is it's made of silicone. Not silicone, that's an element, silicone. It's very, very nice because epoxy doesn't stick to it at all. So you have this nice, easy release mold. If you make your own mold out of fiberglass or something like that, you have to coat it in wax, and then if you want it to release really well, you spray it with hairspray. Now we can go into a tutorial on that later, or try it sometime if you guys want to see that, but for now we're going to do a very simple silicone mold. Silicone mold, sorry. So let's go ahead and start. You're going to want to take your scale and tare it to your cup that you're going to be using. Now I'm going to set my scale to ounces because I know how many ounces I need per brick. And I'm going to use 2 ounces per half because I'm going to mix half of the powder with the hardener and half of it with the actual resin itself. And then of course, once I fill one of these with 2 ounces, I'm going to fill the other one, this cup, with another 2 ounces. And then once we do that, we can then start adding the epoxy resin. So, as you can see, I've cut a small hole into the bag, and we're going to pour it into our little cup here. And we're going to make sure it's all zeroed, tared, however you want to call it. We're going to pour in about 2 ounces. Now, I'm going to go kind of fast at first and then slow down as we go. Mainly because it's a good amount of powder. The thing is, if you get it very, very close, you're going to have a much cleaner mix, a much better turnout with your brick, because you want it nice and pretty, of course, and you want it functional too, and the better you mix and the better you do this, the better it's going to turn out. As you can see, we're at 1.999 ounces. I would call that very, very close. So we're going to set this off to the side and repeat. Strontium Aluminate is a very interesting material, I found. I like it. It's very, very useful. It's interesting in its composition. And when doped with europium, which is what causes it to glow, it does some really cool glowy stuff. Now, europium is very expensive. I looked into making my own Strontium Aluminate crystals, and the thing is, Strontium Aluminate is very, very expensive to make, or else I would have made it myself. Now we're going to begin the portion of mixing the powder with either a hardener, which would be this here, or with a resin, which is this here. So we're going to pour this in. We're not going to pour in a whole lot because I'm not 100% sure how much is necessary, how much is needed. And we're going to stir with some really, really cheap kitchen knives. And we're going to continually add, and it looks like we're going to need a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and glob in a good amount. And hopefully, you know, not waste good epoxy. Now, this looks just absolutely delicious, I know. But while I'm stirring, let's go ahead and talk about Strontium Aluminate. Strontium Aluminate is a phosphorescent material, and ironically is referring to the word phosphor, which is not phosphorescent at all. And What's nice is, with Strontium Aluminate, is it's very, very powerful at this. It's very, very good at producing a nice, lustrous glow. Especially compared to the old sulfur-based stuff that you see at the cheap dollar store glow-in-the-dark stuff. So you could use that, and that powder is about 10 times cheaper. But I will warn you, you will get inferior results. When Strontium Aluminate is doped with a reactive rare earth alkali metal, like europium or dystropium, europium's the most reactive of these, you get this wonderful effect of this phosphorescent glow. Another nice thing about Strontium Aluminate, because there's lots of nice things about it, is that it does wonders at not decomposing at higher temperatures. So you can actually put this stuff into glassware. And with that being a prospect, you know, it completely etches out the previous sulfur-based systems. The difficult bit of using these cheap little plastic cups instead of getting good mixing cups, which I would again advise for the sake of the cramping of your hands, is that it's got no divots in them, so you don't have to dig out stuff. So just a little tiny bit more, not a whole lot, just enough. And that should be the golden amount right there. And remember, this is half of a concoction. We're going to have the other half with the hardener, which is less viscous, so it's going to absorb more of this stuff. So that's why I went ahead and did the resin first, because it will absorb less. Now I'm going to finish stirring this off camera because you're probably getting bored at this point. Now, this is going to be a very concerning bit, because if you mix for too short, it's not properly mixed. If you mix it for too long, it'll start setting before you can get it into your mold. Now what I found is you can stir it for way longer than it tells you, especially because it's filled with glue and powder and such, way more than it's used to, so it takes longer to set. So you have more time than you think you do. But don't think you have more time than you do, because if you think you have more time than you do, you don't have as much time as you think you do. If any of that made any sense. So, let's begin. I'm going to pour, this is the resin, and this is the hardener. So we're going to pour the hardener into the resin, and then the resin into the hardener. What we're going to do is we're going to do the 2-cup method, where you pour 1 cup into the other cup, and then this cup into the other cup. Now you'll notice these are much smaller cups than what I was using before. That's because I cut off the tops, as you can see here. You don't need them, and what I found is that it'll stick to that, and for the more surface area you have for the goo to stick to, the more will get wasted because it's stuck to the cups and not in your molds. So we're going to go ahead and start stirring and mixing and hoping this goo doesn't kill us in our sleep. You know, become sentient, what have you. Like I have. What? Now, of course, it's not going to be perfect. You're not going to get it all the first time you try. And you're just going to have to be kind of tenacious about it. And stirring we shall do. Now, we've just hit a minute, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it into this container. Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. The crap in these corners is not the pure putty, the stuff that you want to be using, and we're starting at 2, by the way. So, that being said, you don't want to scrape out. So all of this is going to be garbage unless I decide to reach in and scoop out some more, which I'm probably not going to. This is probably all going in the garbage, sadly, because it's good stuff. It's fun to play with, you know. We're going to start pouring in just a second, and we're going to pour it into our delicious little cupcake batter looking thing, and we're going to start now. What we're going to do is we're going to pour a little bit cut it off. Now, I probably did too much in the first two. To be perfectly honest, I probably screwed it up. But that's why we're doing this, so that we learn, right? Come on, YouTube, agree with me. Now, it's no longer really wanting to pour. The stuff's real viscous, so we're going to make it want to come out. And there may not be enough for a full brick either. And this last little glow-in-the-dark cupcake does not look very happy. And we're going to see if these glow. They don't seem to be glowing right now. This one kind of is, but it's hard to see. We'll check them once they're dry in 2 or 3 days.